when the kingdom is fractured, the northern kingdom starts doing all these wicked practices. And we know how that northern land up there was all known as land Bashan and how wicked it was. And God's basically telling them like, hey, you're going to get taken out if you don't change your wicked ways. And they don't change their wicked ways. So God basically uses Sennacherib, who was the king of the Assyrians, whose palace was in Nineveh, to lay siege to them. And he goes and he just basically rapes, pillages, wipes out, and takes captive all of northern Israel. And that's how the tribes get scattered. The cool part of this is, as they started to excavate Nineveh, where the palace was, Sennacherib, being the narcissist psychopath that he probably was, decided to carve reliefs on all of the walls in the palace, his conquests during this time period. And all of the dates, cuneiform, and everything that we find, guess what? Matches up perfectly with the biblical record.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Grotto in the Tar Pit. Today, I got some great guests for you guys. Kyle and Ben from the Tinfoil Hat Club. How you guys doing today?
Good, brother. Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I love you. Went out there and got some of your unofficial merch.
Oh, there you go. That's like the half hat, man. You got the half hat working right there.
Yeah, just trying to get those radio signals. I don't want them reading my mind or anything. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah. Just keep carrying around that cell phone. They won't need to.
Oh man, throw that thing away.
You give them all they need right there with the cell phone, man. We bug ourselves every thought almost, right?
I know. Hey, when he did put the hat on, it kind of like
it did. It got all signally on.
Yeah,
it did. Wow.
They're
watching us.
They didn't like that.
No,
the foil disrupted it. See,
that's right.
See what happens. No, thanks for having us on, brother.
No, thank you guys. So me and you talked yesterday. We had a great conversation.
It did.
We didn't even get past one of the things I wanted to talk about. So
Ben's probably not surprised by that. He's like, yeah, I got to live with this dude all the time. He never shuts up.
I know. No.
Yeah.
I get a word in edgewise every now and then.
That's right. You double Dutch.
Well, you know what? I've noticed you take the reins and Ben is like the ninja. He just hides in the shadows, and then all of a sudden he comes with that hard hitting stuff.
Transformer questions, wrestling things. Yeah,
you know what? Have you ever thought about this?
That's right. He's the abstract thinker. He's great. We work well together. It's two different brains, but we think the same way when it comes down to it.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to bring up with you guys is what you guys' take on the 10 lost tribes of Israel, and what have you heard about them, or what do you guys know about them?
Go ahead. You want to go first? See, now Ben is the resident Old Testament. He's much better in the Old Testament than I am, so I'll let him go first.
Also,
I'm catching up. I'm trying to catch up, but
you like God's wrath and
a little bit. I do now. I think I might get called a heretic for what I'm about to say.
Cool.
But that's nothing new.
Heretics typically are right.
I listened to a teaching that Jim Staley did a few years ago, and he kind of got into like the sacred fire and smoke and stuff like later on. But this teaching, I found I agreed with it. And it was the fact that he was talking about the lost tribe, the 10 lost tribes.
Can you elaborate on that sacred fire? Because I've never heard of it.
It's like reading in between the lines of the verse. Like there's a hidden meaning between each line, and you have to find it.
That's called the Bible.
I know,
whole Bible's like that.
He's a good teacher, but
yeah.
But this is like a 4-hour teaching, and it's on YouTube. You can find it. It's Jim Staley, Identity Crisis is the name of it. And it talks about how like there's a line that goes through the whole Old Testament and even then through the New Testament and today that how I understood it was we are part of the lost tribe.
Yeah.
And with that meaning that we hear when God calls, we understand what he's saying. Our spirit contends with his spirit in what he's saying. So it's almost like that we knew that we're part of this thing that God created back with Abraham, then Seth, then Noah, then I know I got out of the line a little bit, but then we are part of the lost tribes, if you will, because we understand what God's saying.
There's a lot to that. If you read I think it's Leviticus or Deuteronomy, where he's telling them the curses, right? Where he said that,
oh yeah,
if you guys end up worshiping other gods, and I will take you from the land and scatter you abroad.
Yeah.
Well, I know I'm paraphrasing, but the word that's used is an agricultural term, which means when you grab seed and scatter it on a field.
Yeah,
so
makes
if you
sense.
think he grabbed all his people, threw them everywhere, and they're interbreeding, they're having kids with each other. So by Abraham's seed, all the nations are blessed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. Were you done with your thought? I don't want to interrupt your thought.
I was done with my thought.
Okay.
I could go deeper, but I won't.
We had I think we've talked about on this. I know we've talked about on our show before, but just for your listeners, Ben's dad is actually our pastor at our church. And you were not there a couple weeks ago. You had some stuff going on. You couldn't be there for that particular Sunday, but your dad actually dove into Daniel, the book of Daniel. And what he did was he did a fantastic job of kind of highlighting all of the things that had led up to that particular point in history, because you need to know that stuff in order to understand a lot of things that's happening in the book of Daniel. And one of the things for your listeners that they need to know is they need to know some of that history of what's really happening and what we're talking about there. And ultimately, what you have is after David, you have the kingdom gets fractured again into the two pieces, right? You have northern Israel, which you have 10 tribes up there, which is the 10 tribes that you're talking about. And then in the southern part of the kingdom, you have Judah, which is actually not just Judah, but it's Judah and Benjamin
and some Levites.
Yeah, right. And the Levites didn't kind of get counted into that because they were the ones that held the Levitical priesthood, like we talked about yesterday.
Yeah, they get no portion, basically.
Yeah, they're the priests, right? That's kind of their allotment, if you will. Yeah, right. So, and this is really fascinating because this is actually one of the most fantastic things about this is we can now see without a doubt. So all of the atheists out there, when you have conversations with atheists, one of the things that they love to say and love to throw out there is there's no proof whatsoever of God doing some of the things that is written in the Bible. And this is one of those things where you can go to them and go, no, sorry, that's not true. Because during this time frame,
I usually send them a Google map of Noah's Ark. See, there it is.
Yeah, right. There it is. Pretty hard to deny, right? But this one's even more fascinating because we have during this particular time period when the kingdom is fractured, the northern kingdom starts to fall off, right? And they start doing all these wicked practices and falling back to, all these other detestable things. And we know how that northern land up there was all known as land Bashan and so on and so forth, and how wicked it was. And God's basically telling them like, hey, you're going to get taken out if you don't, change your wicked ways. And they don't change their wicked ways. So God basically uses Sennacherib, who was the king of the Assyrians, whose palace was in Nineveh, because Nineveh was the capital of the Assyrians, to lay siege to them. And he goes and he just basically rapes, pillages, and wipes out and takes captive all of northern Israel, right? All of these tribes. And that's how the tribes get kind of scattered, right? From that. Now, the cool part of this is we can actually, we have the biblical account, right? Which for anybody that doesn't believe in the Bible goes, well, that's just the biblical account. Well, sorry, but now that we've actually found where Nineveh is, and as they've started to excavate Nineveh, we know now going into Nineveh, we have excavated where the palace was, and Sennacherib, being the narcissist psychopath that he probably was, decided to carve on and reliefs on all of the walls in the palace his conquests during this time period. And all of the dates and the cuneiform and everything that we find, guess what? Matches up perfectly with the biblical record. So now we have the history we have the Assyrians account, and we have the biblical account all in lockstep with one another. So then what Sennacherib does after that is then he turns his sights down to Jerusalem, and he's going to go sack them and finish them off, right? So he marches like however many men down there. I don't think the Bible really says how many men he took, but he camps outside of Jerusalem. And in order to protect Judah, the angel of the Lord, God sends the angel down into the camp and kills like 187,000 of these dudes, right? Well, of course, Sennacherib didn't carve that into the walls because it wasn't very flattering, because he's like, okay, I think I'm going to pack my boys up and go home. So he leaves, right? He doesn't wind up sacking Jerusalem. Well, they just came out not too long ago, and you can find this on our group page on Facebook, the Tinfoil Hat Club podcast group page, because I think we just put it up on there. They have found this cuneiform, like cylinder, I think it was what it is, with all the cuneiform written into it from this exact same time period that highlights that event too, where God basically sent into the camp and slaughtered 187,000 of his troops. So again, we have this fantastical event that happened in the Bible matching up with this cuneiform writing from this time period. And it's not written by the Jews, right? So it's actually written by the Assyrians, and we have all this matching together. And for your listeners, if you want to find out more about this, I would highly recommend Expedition Bible, I believe is what it's called, on YouTube with Joel Kramer. He does a fantastic job of going in and taking a film crew and actually showing all this stuff and describing it in detail. We're trying to get him on the show. I'd love to have him on the show to talk about some of this stuff. But
have you ever heard of the Naked Archaeologist?
I think I maybe have heard about it, but I don't know much about it.
He did a whole documentary on the 10 tribes. He went out to go look for them. Now, it started off with the Ethiopians. In Ethiopia, when they had the civil war out there, basically under the order of a rabbi, they sent out these helicopters and planes to go pick up all these people that said they were Jews, because they said they were from the lost tribe of Dan. So a lot of them escaped and went to Israel. And he also talked about the Manasseh, which are some people in Burma, on the border between India and Burma, that say straight out, we are children of Manasseh. That's our forefather. And as a matter of fact, when Christian missionaries showed up over there, they almost all of them immediately converted, because they already knew the story. It's like, oh, so I guess the Messiah came already. Okay.
Right.
I not to interrupt, but I just had this thought. A few years ago, I was like looking into all of this, like where are the 10 tribes? And it was on Israel's news that they accepted some of the American Indian tribes as one of the lost tribes, because they had
Cherokee. The name of their god is Yahuwah. Yeah,
they had similar language and everything. And it was like they were a little off the mark.
You mean Columbus didn't discover? Are you saying that Columbus didn't discover America?
Oh, no. Oh, look, Columbus plays a big part in this too. What a lot of people don't know is Columbus was a Jew. Not only that, he left Spain the day the Inquisition was going to start. So basically, you had three choices to do. If you were a Jew in Spain, you had three choices. 1, convert to Catholicism. 2, get the heck out. 3, or die. So
the boat it is.
The boat it is. So he went up to Ferdinand and Isabella and said, look, since I got to leave anyways, give me a boat. I'll go try to find you some land.
Right.
And guess who he took with him?
Yep. And he made sure when he got here.
A bunch of Jews.
Yeah, that's right.
And when he came back, a lot of the people that he already knew that were Jews as well had already converted. So they were what's called conversos. So a lot of the conquistadors went with him to go conquer, or went on their own missions to go conquer the Americas, South America. So there again, and the conquistadors, what did they do? They conquered everybody, had children. Right. So that's the more of the spreading of the seed.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we could, the three of us right here, we have no idea what our lineage goes back to, right? No. You go into all the genealogical records, and you're lucky if you can get back into the, get back into the 1200s, you're lucky. Like most people can't track it.
Check this out. Another thing, and this is got a lot to do with the Assyrians. They pretty much said everywhere they sent all these people. So one of the places that these people ended up, from the lost 10 tribes, were the Caucasus Mountains. Yeah. Who came from the Caucasus Mountains? All the Caucasian people. All the people of Europe.
Is that how we got our name?
Yeah. So
I wasn't aware of that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what were you saying?
And one thing that I don't think you read your New Testament, and I don't think people understand that Paul was already going to the world, and they already had synagogues there.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't anybody ask the question, why is there a synagogue there?
Yeah.
They were part of the dispersion. He was going to the dispersed nations.
Yeah.
And nobody thinks about that.
Yep.
They just think, oh, it was just a trip. But no, they already knew. They just hadn't heard the good news yet.
Yeah.
Not only that, apparently, when Judah or Israel, they had some, they had to fight some other people. They appealed to people in Greece, which, I mean, if you look at the language of Greece and you look at their alphabet, it comes from Paleo Hebrew.
Yeah.
So they were appealing to people that were family, that were close to them somehow.
Yeah, I would say that we've scattered it so far now, and there's been so much cross of everything, and the genealogical record is just so hard to track backwards now. We'll never know until the end.
Here's a question: do you guys have a longing to go to Israel?
Oh yeah,
I do. Yes.
Oh, for sure.
Is it
especially now?
Is it
that I know what I know now?
Is it because you want to go because Jesus was there, or do you want to go because you feel like you need to go there?
No, go ahead.
I feel like I need to go. Like I'm not sure if it's that be over there and let the end times unfold, and that's where I need to be. But I do have a calling in that's something that's been stirring in my heart for quite a while now, that I got to get there somehow.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's probably 40% Jesus and 60%. I know that's our history.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because no matter what you are, right? No matter who you are, ultimately we all go back to the same two people.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what, right? You go back to the same two people. And I think that knowing our history the way we know it now, I think it's fascinating to go back and actually go to these places and see them firsthand.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it would connect a lot of the dots together that I know with the physical side of the connection of being able to see things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it'd be good to go pick up some rocks from the Valley of Eli or something like that.
I just want to, you know what I want? I want a sulfur ball.
Yeah, a sulfur ball. Yeah.
They got some here.
I know Kent's got some.
Yeah.
He got them from Ron. That's another one too.
Yeah.
Joel Kramer actually goes there as well. And I mean, he's pulling these things out of, there's millions of them all in the ground and all in the down by the water and everything else. And I mean,
I'm excited.
He lights them on fire.
Ron's ex is going to be here.
I heard that.
Yeah, she's going to be here for boot camp in a few days.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing before I forget, while we're on the subject of the tribes, they found some people, and this is also in that guy's documentary. They found some people in what's that place? Afghanistan. Yeah, Afghanistan. Now these are people that are deep in there in the Carver Pass, deep Taliban people. And when you go over there, they're called the Pantun or the Parthan, but they're different tribes, and the names of the tribes are Ifriti, Rubini, all the same names as
Reuben, all the lost head.
To the point where the people in Israel, they know that these are kin. They're the lost tribes. They're actually trying to, some of them, not all of them, some of them were trying to appeal to them to convert back to Judaism and move into Israel so they can repartition the land the way it was before, where each tribe got their
allotment.
Yeah. When I was watching that thing about the lost tribes, they also went into India, and there's a tribe. I can't remember which. I want to say maybe Naphtali.
Yeah, I think it's Naphtali.
Is in India, and it is just like this little section, and they do all this like Hebrew stuff, and it's like, well, we've always done it this way.
Yeah, and what's crazy about those people is there was big civil wars between the Muslims and the Hindus, but they were such a small minority, nobody paid attention to them, so they just kept on doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
That's
It kind of begs the question of like, are we part of the 144,000? Could we be?
I don't know.
Are you a virgin?
I guess they do have to be virgins, don't they?
Yeah, they're virgins.
All right, I'm out.
I'm out.
I'm out.
I think it might be aborted.
Ben, are you still in? No. He's got 5 kids, so we need to have a talk with his wife.
No, I think it might be aborted babies.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
the 144.
Yeah,
there's supposed to be 12,000 from each tribe, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I mean, it's like.
So if you think about it, like I was saying earlier, the seed has been spread everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So you got people from Abraham's seed all over the world now, right? Yeah. They might not even know, and all of a sudden they're gonna get this pull in them, and you're gonna have like 144,000 Billy Grahams preaching.
Yeah.
Trying to bring everybody to faith.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Hey guys, thank you so much for checking out the show this week. We really appreciate it. If you guys want to help us continue to grow it for God and reach the lost with this podcast, here's what you can do to help. Head over to our website, thetfhc.com today, and click on this Support the Foil button. What that will do is actually take you to a page that'll show you the 4 ways that you can help support the Foil. The best way is to become a member. We have different membership levels with different perks for each level, and it starts at only $5 a month. If you just want to give to the show, you can actually scan the Cash App code with your camera on your phone and give to the show that way. 3, head on over to the merch store and buy some merchandise. And 4, anytime you want to buy one of our guest books, please do so through our guest page, thetfhc.com/guests. A portion of the proceeds will come to the show. Thank you guys so much. Enjoy the rest of the show.
Here's another one. I'm not sure if you guys have you heard about the Shinto religion in Japan?
I've heard of it. Yeah. I'm not familiar like that much with it.
They carry an ark. They carry an ark, and you know how the Jews, they put that little black box on their head?
Oh yeah, where they keep the law.
Yeah. Well, they do that in Japan too. It's just a circular box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you change the shape and it's totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still a box on your forehead.
I know, right? It's like Vanilla Ice changing changing Ice Baby. It's totally different.
They found out that a lot of the words in Japan or in Japanese mean the same exact thing in Hebrew. So
that's like when you look around the world, a lot of the language, like Spanish is a good example of this. When you look at the days of the week, and Saturday is always the word for the meaning of Saturday when you pronounce them in a lot of different language is Sabbath. Yeah, Sabado.
But the Jews lived in Spain for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Right.
As a matter of fact, there's a theory that basically the Jews started Spain.
That surprised me.
Okay, so Moses leads everybody out of the promised land, right? Or out of Egypt, headed towards the promised land, and they're walking in the desert. Well, supposedly some of the people from the tribe of Judah got tired of wandering the desert, and they said, "You know what? We're just gonna go find somewhere else. We're gone." So some of them left, and they ended up going to the Iberian Peninsula. Now, when in those days you want to track your lineage to this big figure, right? And to show how great your lineage is. So they wanted to go further back than Abraham, and they went to Eber, which is why the place is called the Iberian Peninsula.
Interesting. Yeah, the other thing too, I forget which text it is. Maybe it's Jubilees. I don't recall. Talks about the 3 boys coming out of the ark. Noah's 3. I think it was Japheth. They said he was a seafaring person. So it sure seems like too, and especially when we get into some of these older maps where we have Antarctica existing when it shouldn't exist because it wasn't found yet, quote unquote. Yeah. And I think that you have the spread from his son, because obviously the whole world was divvied up when we came out of the ark, right? We got 3 boys, so we're going to divvy it up into thirds. And well, I mean, you got a whole bunch of land you need to go populate and claim. And then we go on, for again, thousands of years. I mean, think about how many people we can populate the earth pretty fast in thousands of years, right? I mean, it happens quick. And I think it was already populated, right? So it's not like they didn't know where these places were. I think they were populated before the flood. you know, because again, we have 1,000 plus, you know, like what the flood was like 16 something, I forget, whatever it was.
Well, either way, the whole world now, like whatever's under the sea, that was probably out in walkable land.
Yeah.
Because I'm not sure if you've ever heard, there's no such thing as a 90-degree angle in nature.
Yeah.
Look at the ocean, go to Google Map, and you'll see all kinds of 90-degree angles down there.
Yeah, it's funky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know exactly. Well, we know for a fact from the archaeological finds that we found now, where we found sites that are just off, you know, out in the water. I mean, we got one right down here in Bermuda, right? When you go down there, you've got that's the space in Bermuda. I forget the name of it off the top of my head.
Triangle?
No, we got that too, and I think there is probably something to that, right, from a magnetism perspective or whatnot. But it escapes me. But it's a road that we can see that they had made underneath the water. The name of the road escapes me off the top of my head right now. But I mean, you can clearly see it, and when you go down there, there's no doubt that it was man-made. And it's not like these all just drifted in here and landed perfectly together. This was a road at some point.
Or just like you got those big pyramids in Japan in the sea.
Yeah, right. You got that off of a lot of the Egyptian coast too.
Yeah, I think
over in Egypt.
pre-flood.
Yeah, exactly. You got a lot of pre-flood stuff. So it's fascinating for sure.
Have you guys ever heard of the book, The Three Sons of Noah?
I have not. You heard that?
I'm running through my memory. Possibly.
Well, it's a really expensive book now. If you don't have a copy, it's going to cost you like $1,000 to get it. It's a rare one. But anyways, you know how before Noah died, he gave his sons blessings and curses?
Yeah.
Okay, so it kind of brings in these concepts. Like he told Japheth, okay, the Lord will dwell in your tent, but he told Shem that the Lord would dwell in his tent, but for a season he would dwell with Japheth. Japheth, he said he gave him knowledge, and then he cursed Ham. He said, "You will serve your brother," right?
Yeah.
So now I think there was more to just a curse. As far as serving his brother, they have traced that most people that are Hamitic, you know, people that come from Ham, they're the people that discover how to live in places like the Eskimos and stuff like that. They learned how to live in freezing weather, and by them conquering the earth allows their brothers to go and start living there. Now, and they're very innovative. They create technology. Well, this might sound a little racist, but I guess I could say it. That's why every Mexican is a mechanic.
You got it in the DNA, huh?
Yeah, because they got a lot of Hamitic DNA.
But whatever my DNA was, it was to eat and cook. Well, by the way, I looked it up really quick while you were talking. It's Bimini, the Bimini Road.
Bimini Road.
The Bimini Road is the road that's down there in Bermuda that you can see.
So again with the blessings he gave. So Shem was supposed to be. I mean, who are the most spiritual people you know? The Israelites and the Arabs. You know, they're very spiritual. So, they're with God. So God will rest in your tent, but he'll spend a season in Japheth's tent. So since the Semitic line didn't fulfill what they were supposed to do, you know, they didn't accept Jesus. Then from then on, it went into Japheth's tent, which is the Europeans. So they're the ones that God has been resting in their tent for a season, making sure the gospel gets spread.
Well, based on what we just see, I don't think he's resting in the Switzerland tent.
Nope.
Yeah.
Woo, man, that's some wicked stuff going on there.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that topic, what do you guys think about the Mandela Effect? Because supposedly that's because of CERN.
Yeah, you know what? I don't think so myself, because, and the reason I say that is I think that one of the things that we know for sure now is when we go back, because we have all the declassified documents to prove it, one of the things that we have worked on for a long, long time here in America, when you go to the origins of the CIA, right? And I forget, it was the OSS, I think, or something like that before the CIA, OWI, I forget what it was. But they have been working on how to manipulate and, break human minds for a long time.
Mantalk, Monarch, and Sophia.
Yeah, you get into all that, and then you get into MK Ultra, and all kinds of stuff. And I think that they've pretty much gotten to the place where I think they've about perfected that. And I think that we have all been, in some way and degree, brainwashed into certain things. And I think that this is one of those things where if they subtly plant seeds and then just keep watering the seeds over and over and over again, then that becomes reality. And, with the Mandela effect, Nelson Mandela gets out of prison and everybody goes, hey, I thought he was dead.
Yeah.
But we have that all the time with like actors that die and, these kinds of things where we're like, hey, I thought that guy was dead.
Yeah.
So
Maria,
I think a lot of that origin goes back to the CIA for me.
Maria joined a Facebook page just dedicated to the Mandela effect.
Oh, wow.
My wife was having fun with it. And people would be posting this stuff and she would be sending me stuff. And she's like, can you believe this? And at first it was just fun. Then she started really thinking. She was like, is this really happening?
Yeah.
And then, it was probably 2 or 3 weeks that she really went into it. And she's like, I got to get it out of this. This is kind of getting dark.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you get so far down the rabbit hole, you're going to find dark things.
Yeah.
And what's really behind it. So she's like, then I'm just stepped away from it. And she was like, but there was some crazy stuff in there. It's just like everyday occurrence of things, people like bringing up the Matrix and the government behind stuff. And it's like, you can only go so far. And then you either have to just accept it. Like this is reality.
Yeah.
Or you have to take a step back and say, hang
you know
on.
What? Ignorance is bliss. I'll take the pill.
No, that's right.
Put me back in the Matrix.
I want that steak, right? And chew that nice, beautiful beef.
Make me a movie star, please.
That's right.
Yes, it's true. If you gotta, it's a fine line you're riding down.
Yeah, I think too that one of the things with that is I think some of that's by design too.
Yeah,
I think that one of the keys to this is deception is to keep us so off balance that we don't know what's the difference between real and fake. And I think that's getting even more serious now. But I think this is all, obviously everything we're going to talk about today, no matter what it is, all goes back to spiritual warfare. It's always going to go back to spiritual warfare. So obviously Satan is the one that's really pulling the strings, but we get to deal with the effects on the surface, right? So while I may point the finger at the CIA or whatever the case is, right? Take your pick. It's all going back to that spiritual warfare aspect of things. But I definitely think that, look at the news. The news is a perfect example. When you're talking about propaganda, well, what is propaganda? Let's really talk about what propaganda is. Propaganda is the programming of your mind for a certain outcome, right? That's what it is. It's psychological warfare. And they've perfected a lot of this stuff. They've been working on it now for literally 80 years.
Yeah, they perfected it, but somehow have become blind to what they're doing because they're doing it to us here now, and they don't see it happening.
Well,
the same things we do to other countries to drop them down and shatter them and put in a new regime is happening here now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's completely happening.
No, it's not. Come on.
Yeah, like okay.
He took the pill.
He took the pill. He's the smartest of all of us, I guess. Right? Like Ben and I, we recorded before we did this episode, and we talked about Switzerland and all these things. But it's amazing how it goes so far beyond that, and all the things that are happening in that country, and how they're at the heart of evil and all of it. But one of the things we started off with was we actually led the show off with the hot topic of the day, which for a lot of our audience, they're not going to see for 4 or 5 weeks anyway, because that's where we're at as far as how far we're out from when we record a release. We talked about the debate the other day. And, I'm not surprised by any of that. Some people look at that and they're like shocked. I can't believe how bad he was. Oh my gosh. How could he be so cognitively unhinged? And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, for me, I look past that. I'm like, this was all by design. They planned that for me. Like, I don't think for 2 seconds this was some kind of shocking thing. They had that plan. This is all a bigger plan for what they're trying to do next. It's never just off the cuff.
So while we're on the subject, was it rigged?
The
last election, was it rigged?
Oh, I think anybody that hasn't watched 2000 Mules, needs to go watch 2,000 Mules. That's Dinesh D'Souza's documentary. And, a hardcore leftist is going to go, oh, Dinesh D'Souza, he's right-wing, crazy, extremist, nutty. I'm like, yeah, but okay, watch the documentary because there's hard scientific evidence in there since you like your science so much. Clear with video, right? It's like, how do you make that up? That clearly shows these people going to these different drop boxes and literally multiple times a night because they bought all the cell data. That's what they did, is they went out just like everybody else does. They buy the cellular data for where you go and the things that you look at. They bought the cell data to track these people within a certain radius. And they're literally overnight going to 20, 30 different, ballot drop boxes and dropping handfuls at a time in these things. Well, you can imagine if you do the math on that, if you're dropping 15 ballots and you're doing it 20 times a night, and you do that with however many nights and however many people, you can swing an election fast.
Not only that, they got eyewitnesses of people running the same ballots in 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. I mean, come on. But the thing is, like, this last time around, it was the Democrats that were the ones responsible for all the corruption. Yeah, but the Republicans are doing it too, because it's like a war between the Bloods and the Crips. None of them care for us, right? They just want to have control. And as the war escalates between the Bloods and the Crips, they just do more and more outlandishly crazy things and violate us and violate the Constitution, right? Like at this particular point, like I love the T-shirt. I want to get it. It's George Washington, and it says, "Me and my homies would have been stacking bodies by now." Because that's true. Because look, when they have gone so far as to interfere in our election process, what do we have left? It's like, what was it? I forget who it was. I think it was Frederick Douglass that said, a man's freedom resides in 3 boxes: the ballot box, the jury box, and the cartridge box. And ultimately the jury box has been tampered with. We can see how they mess with the court system and how they are trying to, every day they're talking about stacking the Supreme Court in their favor just to get a desired outcome. And we can see clearly how politics have invaded the Supreme Court and our court systems in general. And then we just talked about how they have violated our ballot boxes and our election process. Well, the cartridge box is all that's left.
And they want to take that as well.
And they're trying to take that every day. They're trying everything they can, right? They've already violated the Constitution, the heart of the Constitution in the Second Amendment. I think you and I talked about this yesterday. They've already violated that, in its essence, in the heart of it, by restricting things and putting things in place. But, that's
my thing is the media and everybody had demonized Donald Trump so bad that they didn't care who they put in there as long as Donald Trump was gone. Right?
Right.
And
that's right.
To the point where I'm not sure if you guys watched it, but you know how there was like about 5 states where it was really in up for grabs, like who really won. Well, Rudy Giuliani was Trump's lawyer at the time, well, one of his lawyers. So he went and he did meeting at each and every single one of the legislatures for each one of the states that were up in the air, and he presented like at least 2 or 3 hours worth of testimonies and people coming up and saying, I seen them cheating, I seen them cheating, and nobody even listened to that.
Nobody cares.
And then not only that, when they actually brought it up to the courts, the judges were too scared to take the cases and just dismiss them. And because they were scared and just dismissing them, everybody's like, see, the courts won't take it. He's guilty, or he lost.
Right.
It's so outlandish and so dumb that no judge is going to take it.
Yeah.
And there was one judge in Arizona who said, okay, look, if take a random 100 ballots, and if 3% is wrong, well, then I'll see the case, right? So they went and got 100, and one was marked for Joe, or marked for Trump and went for Joe. One was blank and went for Joe, and one was not filled in right. So it should have been an error, but marked for Joe.
Imagine that.
So 3% exactly.
Yeah.
Out of the randomness, and they did a whole big investigation. They brought up hours and hours. They had this whole crew called the ninjas, the tech ninjas, or something like that. But and the Democrats were destroying the evidence. especially in the yeah.
No.
they were there. Oh yeah, of course it couldn't.
Yeah, it's all of them. Yeah. No, man, it is. And it's the funny thing is because, we joke and we say that this is tinfoil stuff, and it's not.
No.
It's right there in front of everybody's nose. It's not like this is like we can't quantify this stuff with proof. Like, it's right there. We can have conspiracy theories about Bohemian Grove and skull and bones and all these types of things. But this stuff is like, dude, this is right here. You can go see the evidence of it. This is not conspiracy theory. This is fact.
What did Hitler say? Say a lie loud enough, long enough, right, and everybody will take it as truth.
Yeah.
And I remember I was watching this news or not, I guess YouTube news, right? They were talking about Dominion. You know who Dominion is?
The ballot company.
Yeah. Well, 6 years before that, they I think it was CNN had run a whole little piece on how Madero rigged the ballot by using Dominion systems.
No,
right?
Stop it.
Yeah. So 6 years before, and then 6 years later, when we have our election here, they're like, "Oh no, Dominion is a great system." Like, you did a whole piece of them 6 years ago.
Yeah, no, that doesn't shock me. There was a whole bombing in Tennessee too. I went down there right after that happened at the AT&T building where they were supposedly housing a lot of these machines.
Yeah,
coincidence, I'm sure.
And they hide it in plain sight with Man of the Year. We just talked about that with Robin Williams, that movie.
Yep, they do.
Where they use the algorithm to mess up the ballot.
Yeah, I'll never forget that night. I went to bed and I was like, "This is done." Like, I'm going to get some sleep. I mean, I was up pretty late with my father-in-law. He was here. We were watching it together, and I'm like, this is over. Because you're just watching county after county after county come in on these swing states for Trump. And I'm like, this is done. And then I woke up in the morning and I came down and I was like, what the heck happened?
Yeah.
Like, imagine that.
They were showing one of the how they got the counters at the bottom while they're showing the news?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And they messed with it right as the news was going on. And you could see physically the numbers being switched from Trump to Biden as it's coming across the screen. So they did something. Yeah.
Imagine that. We should get some of those. We should sell those on the store.
We should.
Yeah, we need some foil hats.
Official merch.
That's right. Official merch. Get your official.
And we could sign it.
Yeah. Get your official Reynolds hat. That's right. We could sign it. That's a good idea. We should do that. Yeah. There you go. Hey, y'all, thanks for checking out this week's show. One more thing you can do to actually help support me and support The Foil is head over to the tfhc.com and click on Pod U. If you've ever wanted to be a podcaster or someone that you know has wanted to become a podcaster, we have 10 different sessions available on all the various topics necessary for you to learn to be a great podcaster. Things like equipment, editing, recording, distribution, marketing, how to get guests on your podcast, how to monetize your podcast, and how to understand your statistics and how to grow your show. We have on-demand sessions that are available for $9.99 each, or you can actually schedule 1-hour live coaching sessions with me on each of these topics. So head over to thetfhc.com/pod-u today and check it out. Thanks so much. Back to the show.
So I got a question for you guys. Did you guys ever hear about Obama being the Antichrist?
Oh, yeah. But I don't think the Antichrist is going to need a teleprompter to talk to fifth graders.
I'd be more likely it was Michelle, not him.
Yeah. Well, do you think Michelle's a man?
Ooh, never know. No, I don't think that
I
think Antichrist.
I think we are so Amerocentric when it comes to biblical things. You know, we don't look at the Bible. Well, we look at the Bible from the American point of view.
Western.
We don't look at from the Hebrews point of view.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't think he was. He's got a lot of red flags, but I think he was just a guy that was backed by Soros. You know,
I don't think we've seen the Antichrist yet myself. You know, and another one. I've heard some really good arguments for some people too, like Jared
Kushner.
No, I haven't. That was a new one. You'd sent that one. I hadn't heard that one. Jared Kushner, which is Trump's son-in-law.
The one that's really on most people's radar is the guy from, is it Poland?
Oh, I haven't heard this
or
one.
Turkey. I can't remember. I guess he's got a lot of flags.
That's kind of curious.
Well,
Just
the reason Jared Kushner sets up some red flags for me is because he's the one who's in the Middle East right now, setting up peace agreements with all these different Muslim countries with Israel, and the whole accord is called Safety and Peace, or Peace and Safety Accords. Isn't that what it says? Isn't that what it says in the Bible? Yeah. Well, when you hear peace and safety, you know what's coming.
Yeah, everything is peaceful. Everything is safe. That's true. Yeah. I remember that verse. Yeah,
Kirshner, isn't that a Jewish name?
Oh,
yeah,
probably.
He's Jewish. As a matter of fact, he's known Benjamin Netanyahu since he was a kid. Really? Benjamin Netanyahu used to know his parents. He used to spend the night at his house when he was little and everything.
Sergio might be onto something.
What about the false Messiah? Well, I shouldn't say. I'm sorry. I said false Messiah. The Messiah that Israel had that came out a couple years ago that was like healing the rabbis and everything that they were calling him.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk about they've already picked out their guy who they believe is their Messiah.
Yeah, and he was like...
And he's talking to the leaders right now.
Yeah.
But who knows if that's true.
He wore glasses. I don't think the Messiah...
I know who you're talking about, but he came out saying, I'm not the Messiah. Yeah. He came out and said a bunch of times, I'm not the Messiah.
Gentlemen, good news is we already have some of the prerequisites filled out for this
I think he came. I'm not sure about you, but I think he came.
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard to say. King Charles... King Charles is another one that you postulated. I heard a really good argument for that one, and it got into the crest and what the crest of the family means and all this type of stuff.
Well, not only that, he claims to be from the Davidic line. He claims to come from David.
No, really?
Yeah.
Well, that would have. So did a lot of his moron grandkids, but what?
And basically, that's why a lot of people think that he is trying to do some things with the Jews, because if they set up the third temple, it needs to be christened by the king or christened by a king. If King Charles is from the line of David, he can come and christen the third temple.
No, that's interesting.
Yeah, because he's from the line of David.
You have to prove that.
Well, wouldn't that... Here we go. We're going to go... Couldn't that be part of the lineage of... the Holy Grail, the child of Jesus and Mary,
the Merovingians.
Oh. Yeah, we're going to Da Vinci Code.
Yeah,
the Merovingians.
Yeah. That's so funny. See, that's another one too. Like, I think the Holy Grail is such a goofy concept.
Oh, I
don't think there's anything. Nothing exists. There's no Holy Grail. It doesn't exist.
Actually,
it does in Indiana Jones.
That's true, and it makes for a darn good story, because that's my favorite Indiana Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Christ was the Holy Grail because he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, but I think like a cup, I think it's hilarious. Yeah, I have to just a fun nostalgic side note, because man, it was some good cinema. I remember the first time I saw Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade when I was a kid. It was 1989, because we just looked it up the other day when it came out, and I went to the drive-in to see it, and the double feature that night was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and No Holds Barred.
Oh, really?
With Hulk Hogan.
Awesome.
That was some good movie. That was some good. No. I think was it No Holds Barred? I think it was No Holds Barred.
Yeah.
No, it was a Hulk Hogan. Trying to make it as an actor, and I forget what he was like. It was like a hero. It was like an action show.
Yeah.
That's I used to like that Thunder in Paradise.
Thunder. Oh yeah, I remember that one. See, now Ben is a wrestlephile. Is that? Can you say that?
I don't know.
I'm coining that term right now. Wrestlephile. Boom. There it is. Yeah. Ben is a huge wrestling fan. Huge.
I was back in the day. I fought tooth and nail. No, wrestling is real, man. Wrestling is real.
It's like till I
found out for sure that it was fake, and I stopped watching it.
No, I knew pretty early on. I'm like, this ain't real. But they play it well. It's like a man's soap opera. Is really what it is. But man, I checked out during
I love it.
Stone Cold
years. Good for TV.
I still wear my Stone Cold shirt every now and then.
There you go.
Maybe I should rock it on one of the shows.
Yeah, you should bring it. It'd be a good time. So yeah, I don't think we've seen the Antichrist myself. I think it's yet to be seen. I like your Jared Kushner thing. That's worth looking into.
Yeah, I think he might be alive.
Oh, I definitely think he's alive. No doubt about that.
And then another thing brought up with King Charles is that you know how he's the Prince of Wales or whatever. Supposedly Wales, the way with the castle and everything there, it was made to look like the city of David, because they know they're from the line of David. Supposedly.
No, that's funny. Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, they could. Well, if they were dispersed, that's part of the disbursement. They could be it. No, I think that it could be if they say they're from the line, then they know. Well, what was it in the movie The Knight's Tale? How did the nobles become noble? They took it from the edge of a sword. That's one of my favorite movies.
Knight's Tale?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Heath Ledger.
Yeah.
So, is that like the Sin Eater or something like that?
No, that's an old.
Yeah, that's a
That's
weird
a
one.
cheesy one. The Knight's Tale.
Oh, I
Okay.
get that.
It's not cheesy. I guess what the cheese factor is, like they mix modern music with the.
But it's good.
But yeah, I like that movie.
Good message.
Yeah. I mean, it's no holds barred. Better
So,
yet, They Live.
Yeah. So, tell me, have you guys ever heard of Frazzledrip?
You had mentioned this the other day, and I have never heard of this.
No. All right.
No. Okay, so
Is
have
it
you
like the
guys ever
second
heard
cousin to Pizzagate?
of? Yeah. Basically, it's part of Pizzagate.
Is it really?
Yeah.
How do they come up with these names?
Well, it's supposed to be like Watergate. Now, every time there's a conspiracy, it's gate.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I haven't heard this one.
Supposedly, they had this underground tunnel, and all these pedophiles would come and have their way with kids and stuff like.
We interviewed Tracy McDaniel. She worked with the FBI for 12 years in trafficking, and she knew the guy that made the movie Sound of Freedom. She worked with him, I think, on a couple things.
Yeah,
and that's a good show. If you haven't listened to it, that's a really good one. So,
wow, it's almost like reminds me of the whole. You've heard of Adrenochrome too, I take it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where they basically
apparently Al Gore is really hooked on it.
Adrenochrome.
Yeah,
well, kind of like Monsters Inc. where they suck the adrenaline out of the kid. And,
yeah, for the screams.
Yeah.
Wow, I never thought
about
that.
Yeah. The little hidden innuendo there.
Sight.
Disney's dark, man.
In plain sight.
Plain sight, you're right. Man, that's dark. I never thought. Jeez, we need to stop talking.
Well, have you guys ever seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah,
for me
that's
too.
the first time I ever heard of adrenochrome, where the guy said, "Yeah, the Satanist owes me some money." And he offered me some adrenochrome. And I said, well, either give me some adrenochrome or just rip out their adrenal gland and give it to me so I could chew on it.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Seriously, in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, it does have Johnny Depp in it. So,
yeah. Can you imagine what God sees every day?
No, I can't.
It'd break our minds.
I know.
You're going to do a million pieces.
Yeah.
What Christ took on the cross for us, man. Imagine what he had to do.
That's sad.
My God, why have you forsaken me? I never understood that line until we started digging into things and understanding things at a deeper level.
I know.
And it's like he did. God forsook him during that time. He separated himself from him so he could take on the full weight of what we were due.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens is God separates himself from you when you engage in sin. So when he's saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? And he's also hearkening back to the words in Psalms, but yeah, I never understood that until a few years ago. It's pretty heavy. We think of the physical torture that Christ went through, but the emotional torture that Christ went through had to be, make the physical pale in comparison. But
yeah.
Well, to sweat blood, you got to be going through some stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy duty, right? Wow, no, I haven't dug into the world of Frazzledrip.
Yeah,
that's just. But we know the Clintons are wicked because, like, how many people associated with them can die before we finally go, I think there's something there. I think might be something going on there.
Here's a tidbit. Here is a tidbit. Guy in our church, his cousin was Clinton's lawyer.
Wow.
Is that something to be proud of?
No, it's just, that's how small the world is.
Well, here, I'm going to do this again. Okay. The reason I'm doing this is because apparently Bill Clinton and the guy from Tyson Chicken were some of the biggest drug dealers in Arkansas at the time.
Oh, yeah.
They were selling pounds and pounds of cocaine. And the guy from Tyson's Chicken and Bill Clinton,
I just thought of Gus Fring from Breaking Bad.
Yeah, that's probably why they did that.
See that?
Yeah.
You never seen that, have you?
I've seen the first episode.
Okay, so when you get further down the line, one of the biggest meth dealers in the whole show, and a lot of the show hinges around his character, is Los Pollos Hermanos, the brothers chicken, and it's a dude that is literally his front is he owns a chicken franchise.
Well, we watched Marie and I, my wife, we watched a documentary about that, and 2 boys in Arkansas.
Yeah,
they were killed. Yeah,
that's what it's leading to.
They just stumbled upon it like a meeting.
Not only that. They killed the 2 kids, right? And when their family started a big, trying to take it to court, hey, they killed our kids, and they ended up dead too. Yeah. They ended up killing six different people that were related to the kids before they showed up and like, oh, you know what? Yeah, that's cool.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
It's like all the whistleblowers getting disappeared.
Yeah, I know.
There's another movie with Tom Cruise called American Made, which is based on a true story, right?
Yep.
I mean, we know
who gets him out of jail when he gets locked up in Arkansas.
That's right. It just is.
Bill Clinton just called, let him out.
Yeah, exactly. You ever seen that one?
I've seen that clip.
So yeah, he's basically it's a true story. I forget the character he's playing, but he wound up working with Pablo Escobar and the CIA. Yeah, and the CIA, because the whole deal with with Pablo Escobar and that whole cartel winds up getting involved with Reagan and Iran Contra.
No,
oh no, it's crazy.
He was innocent. Come on.
And who's behind it all? Who's behind it all? The CIA, baby.
The CIA.
The CIA.
Yeah, and then they get the coke and then they sell it to Fast Freddy in LA.
Yeah, they wind up
cooking up crack.
Yeah.
He didn't know the whole time.
Yeah.
I've actually met some people. Well, I was in LA for a while, and I met one guy who said he knew Fast Freddy, and I guess Fast Freddy was a good guy, but he was still doing what he was doing. And he said he would actually get these he would buy a house or start buying a house, and to make it a trap house, he would get one of his guys and, okay, you're going to sit here and you're going to sell crack for me. And one of my friends, his brother said, yeah, he told me, but he already knew him. If you messed up, he would go break your leg or he'd go break your arm. And you had to go tell everybody you fell out of a tree. So he went to my friend's brother and told him, hey, I'm going to open up this house. I want you to go and run it for me. And he goes, nah, man, I ain't trying to fall out of no trees. I'm good.
That's what happens, man. Yeah. You wind up getting enough people. It's like we talked about before, like Kennedy assassination. How many people that were in Dealey Plaza that day got, unalived because they knew stuff or refused to let things go or whatever? Come on, man.
That is a big can of worms. That is a big can of worms.
Oh yeah,
sure. You know that not only do they know who the people were there that were trying to shoot them, they know exactly how much they were paid. They were all paid. There was 8 people, right? And each one was paid, I think, like $25,000 to try to take him out. And it was actually a joint venture between the CIA and the Italian mafia.
Yeah, the mafia.
Apparently the mafia was mad because he made them all kinds of promises. Mm-hmm. And they helped get him elected by all the Teamsters and stuff like that. Yeah. And when he didn't pull through, as a matter of fact, he cut them all off. Right before he was president, you see all kinds of pictures of him with Frank Sinatra and all these big people in the underworld. But as soon as he became president, he cut them all off. Didn't talk to him anymore.
Yeah, what happened with that was...
I like Frank, by the way. I like Frank Sinatra. So
he's definitely involved with the mob. Ain't no doubt about that. But no, a great movie for this is actually The Irishman, which is the one that came out on Netflix a while back with Pesci and... De Niro and all those guys, because it gets into the Buffalino crime family, because it was the Buffalino family that they allege in the movie that was actually the mafia wing of that helped kind of do some of those things, because they were also behind the Bay of Pigs invasion. And ultimately what happened there was, and this is not arguable, like you can clearly see this, you go back and just all you got to do is research a little bit and you'll find it. Their father, Bobby, and Robert's father, or I'm sorry, the 2 Kennedy boys. You know what I'm saying?
He helped
their dad, Joe.
Yeah, Joe was absolutely friends with the mafia, and the mafia did. The mafia helped get him elected. And the first thing he did when he got in office is he turned around and he stuck Bobby in as Attorney General and told him to go after the Teamsters, which was the source of their money. Well, you want to wind up dead fast. Go after the mafia's money. That'll get you dead quick. That and what else did he say? I'm going to fracture the CIA into a million pieces. Man, I'm like, this dude did everything he could to get himself shot.
And that apparently he was trying to get us back on the gold standard too.
Yep, that's another one that'll get you shot. Mess with the money and mess with the powerful agencies that are behind all these things, and you're going to wind up dead fast. That's just like,
Iraq. Why did we go to war with Iraq? Because the real reason is they started accepting the euro. That's the real reason.
Like the Bank of England was very upset. They're like, "Hey, come help." they were an ally.
Of course.
It was the Queen.
Follow the money, baby.
It was the Queen saying, "George, come help." Because
when we went to when we got off the oil standard and it became the petrodollar, is because the U.S. went to every oil producing company and said, "Hey, check it out. You're only going to accept the dollar to sell your oil, and we got your back."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Yeah. Right.
Don't sell them the oil. We don't have your back, and you got to deal with us.
You know, it's just funny to me. Like, I hope these people had a good, fun life while they were here. I mean, I'm playing the long game.
Yeah, I know.
Enjoy your eternity in the fiery pits of hell, man, because I am not going to be there.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lord, again. This is completely wicked, man. These people are evil beyond our understanding of what they're capable of.
Well, I know I said that movie we watched yesterday that answers all of the conspiracy theories from the 60s was Unfrosted on Netflix. It's a spoof.
I have to watch this.
And it was written by Jerry Seinfeld, but it's about the cereal wars.
Jerry Seinfeld?
Yes.
It's not a comedy.
It's a comedy. It's a comedy. It's you watch it and you're like, it brings every conspiracy theory from the 60s.
Also, it's like that old Mel Brooks History of the World.
Yeah.
It's so funny. We were just talking about that, and you said the Inquisition earlier, and I was like, the Inquisition. Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. Dan.
Oh, Hitler on Ice.
That's right.
I just watched but it twists everything towards comedy. But you got to watch it. It's like it pokes fun at it, but it's like it brings everything in to like. It's almost like this was happening, but this was going on as well. Like during the Civil War, you know what was invented during the Civil War? A1 steak sauce. In the middle of the Civil War, somebody wanted steak sauce. So
probably because the meat they were getting wasn't good at all.
That's right.
So no matter how much evil is going on, there is always something else to distract everybody with.
Well, that's how tartar sauce got invented.
No.
Yeah, because the Mongols were eating horse meat. They were eating human meat. So they came up with the tartar sauce to put it on there so it wouldn't taste as bad.
Wow. Little did we know. Hellman's really was the name of one of the guys that they were eating. Hey, man. He's like, hey, they were going to hell for this, man. Like, here it is, Hellman's.
Jeffrey Dahmer was having his grandma over for dinner, and she goes, Jeffrey, I don't like these friends of yours. He goes, Grandma, then just eat the vegetables.
Oh, there's a joke there. I won't touch it. Oh my goodness.
So, have you guys ever heard of the Islamic mark of the beast?
The Islamic mark of the beast?
Yeah.
No, this is news.
Okay, so apparently, you know how John seen the number 666, right?
Oh yes, I just listened to a thing on this past week. Yeah. I have.
Speak on it, since your mind is probably a little fresher than mine on it.
Don't have a Joe moment.
It was. I don't know the actual words but it was like.
It's the letters.
It's the letters. Like
you know how in Hebrew how each letter is a number as well.
Yeah. So it's the Hebrew for the 6.
So
yes.
Actually, that part is written in Greek. So, anyways, it would be the Greek letters. What he said, seen as 666, was if you look on the how Islamic countries or ISIS they wear a green headband.
Yeah.
Well, on there it says Bishmillah.
Yeah.
And which is, it looks like the letters for 666 in the Greek. I think it's like a little squiggly line and some swords, cross swords, and I forgot what the last one is, but it looks like
that makes, when I heard that, I was like, that makes sense, because
so their thing that they're wearing is the mark of the beast
on here and here,
yeah,
on their armbands.
Yeah, on their armband. And that makes sense because of the 4 horsemen, because in the original, one of the horses was green.
Yeah, the pale
and
horse.
they did, and then they didn't translate they said grizzled or whatever, which means green. And so whatever he went out, he conquered, and death followed him.
Yeah, well, if you look at all the flags of Islamic countries, they're the 4 horsemen: white, red, black, and green.
Yeah,
every single Islamic country.
Yeah,
you can't make it up, man.
Nope.
Where's that foil hat?
That's the thing. And when I heard, I just was like listening to that, and I'm like, this is crazy. This is insane.
Yeah. You had postulated that when we were talking. I forget what show it was. We've done about 50 of them now. So actually, this is probably more than 50 that we've got.
Yeah.
But I can't remember what we talked about at one point when we were talking about Revelation.
So that kind of to spiral back. You know how I said one of my possibles is Obama. Now the reason I said Obama because supposedly you know who the Mahdi is, right?
Yeah.
Mahdi? That's their savior for Islam. That's their Messiah. Well, supposedly he's supposed to be a ruler somewhere. He's a ruler somewhere, and he steps down, and he's no longer the ruler there. But another country asks him, "Come be our ruler. You were such a good ruler over there. Come now, rule over us." And that's when he takes on the role and sets up the 13th Caliphate. So if you think about it, to the world that is pretty much blind, Obama was this great person. He helped us out so much, which is a total lie, but they made it look that way.
Right.
So and I'm not sure if you've ever heard, but supposedly he's a secret Muslim. Like
what? No.
You mean Barack Hussein Obama is a secret Muslim?
Exactly.
No.
You mean like his dad was?
Well, apparently he wasn't born in Hawaii. He was born in Indonesia, in a Muslim part of the town.
I thought he was from Kenya.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait,
his grandma's from Kenya.
I thought his mother was just full of midichlorians.
Well, supposedly he was born
Yoda
from a
won.
satanic ritual.
Oh, really?
He was born from a satanic ritual that they had. And there was this guy who lived in Indonesia, and he had a cult, a satanic cult. And if they have a picture of Obama next to this guy, his face cut in half, the other guy's face, and they look another dead ringer.
Ooh, yikes.
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, there's so much stuff here. Who knows? Like you and I were talking yesterday about old boy up in Canada being Fidel Castro's love child.
Oh, yeah.
Justin Trudeau, yeah. Because when you look at his dad, Pierre, I mean, they don't look anything like. But when you look at him with, like when you see Fidel without the beard and the mustache, and you put them together, and it's like, whoa.
Barbara Bush and Aleister Crowley.
Yeah, have you heard that one?
What's that?
Barbara, go ahead, Ben.
Aleister Crowley is Barbara Bush's
granddaughter.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Oh, yeah, that's crazy.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out this week's show. Here's what you can do to help us continue to grow it for God and reach people with the podcast. Head on over to the tfhc.com and wait for the green pop-up box to appear and fill out all the information. This is going to sign you up for our weekly newsletter that's going to keep you updated on everything that we have going on in the Tinfoil Hat Club podcast. In addition to that, it's actually going to allow you access to the private fan group on Facebook. Once we confirm that we've got all your information. And as our way of saying thanks, you're going to get an email from us. Inside of that is a coupon code GOOD for 20% off your first purchase in the merch store. Thank you so much for helping us out and being loyal to the foil. Now, back to the show.
Speaking of which, you guys had never heard about the real reason why Bush died?
Talking senior, obviously.
Yeah, senior.
Mm-mm.
No? Okay.
He finally started saying where he was on November 22nd of '63 when Kennedy got shot. That'll get you dead quick.
No. That's not the reason he died. And on a side note, when they asked him and he was talking about Kennedy dying, he laughed. He stopped, did a little chuckle. He knew he's the only person that didn't know where he was that day.
You know, it's just something that's easy to forget that day. I mean, you're the head of the CIA and in charge of so much evil. It's hard to remember where you are at every moment when things are happening.
Yeah.
You've all heard of Q, right? You've heard of Q, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
it's pretty fascinating.
I was following Q. Well, not really following because it's kind of hard to, see where he's coming from.
Yeah, right.
But, during that time, there was people that were doing some covering about his Q drops, and if you look at the funeral, right, you apparently what happened is when Trump came into office, he realized, or he was gonna do something about the human trafficking. That was his first thing to go after. And who's a big person who's been doing all the human trafficking for years? Apparently, Papa Bush. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
That surprised me.
So, because of what he was doing, and since he did some of that while he was president, it was treason. So you don't have to be tried under regular law. When you commit treason, you're under military law, which means they don't really have to let anybody know what's going on. And apparently they gave him an offer. They said, okay, we can either drag this out, make it public, and your reputation is going to be tarnished. Okay, we're going to throw everything at you, but because you're a president or you were president, we're giving you this option. Or you can accept that you did treason. We can give you the death penalty. You can die, and we won't say anything about this. And your legacy lives on as you were a great president. You were a good person. Mm-hmm. And apparently, since he was already 95, he said, "Oh, shoot me up,
just off me."
Yeah.
Man, I tell you what, we need like an electric couch.
Well, I guess the reason they even found all this out and connected all the dots was because George Bush Jr. and Trump were actually friends, right? On from back in the day.
Yeah.
So apparently he came and he told Bush, "Hey, this is what's going to happen. I know everything. Why don't you just be a witness for these tribunals and stuff?" And apparently all this happened through military tribunals, so it's not public knowledge. And as a matter of fact, if you see in the funeral when George Bush comes up and he hands his brother a note, and his brother's like, "No, is this true?"
Yeah, I seen that video.
Yeah, and he's like, "Yup, that's true." And apparently, according to Q, what was written on there was the treason that he committed. Not only that, because of this, he sent indictments to all the other presidents. So if you look at that scene, they all walk in the church. Nobody wants to look at Trump. Everybody's like, Well, everybody opens up their program, right? And boom, you see a couple of them, an extra leaflet comes out. Apparently, that was a subpoena for all these people to show up. And then you see Jimmy Carter, he opens up his and nothing falls out of his. And he's like,
"Hey, I didn't get the extra dinner menu."
Yeah, what's going on?
Oh, poor Jimmy, the only one that was probably actually decent. Yeah. Oh my goodness, man, you can't make this stuff up, dude. It's insane.
Yeah.
And we're only going to find out just probably the surface level fraction pieces of it. Have you seen the Octopus Murders? Have you watched this on Netflix?
No.
Oh my goodness, you need to go watch the Octopus Murders. I know it seems weird on the surface, but really ultimately it goes right down a lot of these alleys that we're talking about.
I'm halfway through it.
Yeah. And don't leave the room. You're going to need to stay and keep your focus on the television.
I haven't finished it because I've been too scared to watch it.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
It's dark.
Yeah, it is very dark. And I'm wondering what's going to grab.
But it gets into all these things and like the web, because the octopus is what the octopus is this. It's like if you were doing connect the dots by number, and all of these dots wind up forming this gigantic octopus, and how all these things are connected. And really it starts off with some software who stole the software? Was the CIA?
Is CIA.
The CIA.
Or the FBI.
Yeah. Or somebody. FBI.
Catholics in action.
Look at that. Oh my goodness, that's good.
Apparently they're all Catholics. A lot of people
wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't surprise me. Yeah, we need to talk to the guy that he had recommended too, because he's seen some stuff in the Vatican vault. We could probably spend a show talking to him just about that, man. Yeah. Boy, wouldn't I? I'd love to have a day in the Vatican vault, but then again, maybe I don't want to have a day in the Vatican vault.
I would. There's some books I'd want to look for.
Ooh, boy, you might find some things you never forget in that Vatican vault.
Apparently, he found the Gospels, right? But they're like mashed up in the middle of other books. So you know that there was a time when the Vatican was going and swooping up everything Jewish and burning it and stuff. Yeah. So you got these books written in other languages, or there's something totally different. But right in the middle is you got a gospel, or you got a book in the Bible that was originally written in Hebrew, but it's in between this stuff of people that at sea, things to know, kind of like an almanac or a dictionary, something you're not gonna read through. So that's how they preserve their stuff. And that's how he found it. He found a piece here, found a piece there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he'd be a fascinating guy to talk to, but yeah, there's so much, man. There's so much to all this stuff. It's insane. But yeah, you need to check out the Octopus Murders. That's one where because you start off there, but that's just like the tip of the iceberg. Yeah. And baby, there is, they say, well, the 80% is under the water. Yeah. Well, there's like 99.9% is under the water on that one.
I know, that's the scary thing.
Yeah, it's pretty terrifying, but it gets into who comprises. Ultimately, there are just a few handful of guys that comprise the Octopus. And I shall not say, since neither of you have seen it, who those folks are, but
I need to finish it.
You do.
They got 8 arms, so they can kill 8 people at once.
Just like when you build tunnels in CERN. Was that 9?
That's 9.
9 people.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So I wanted to ask you guys. All right, we covered a little bit about the Nephilim last time, but what about what you guys' take on like other creatures like skinwalkers and vampires and werewolves?
You want a skinwalker story?
I'll do.
Buckle up.
My parents,
Go ahead, Ben.
Parents were missionaries to the American Indians. They were out in Wyoming on Wind River Reservation back in the early 70s. And every time I tell this, I get goosebumps. Because it's so real. It was before my time, but my dad has always told the story growing up. He went to New Mexico to help with let me get the chief's
nephew,
the chief's son-in-law, if that makes sense.
Okay,
their grandson-in-law. So down in New Mexico, and so they were in this trailer, and the medicine man put on a skin of a wolf, and he turned into the wolf.
And your dad seen this?
Yes, he was there in the trailer. And the wolf climbed the trailer and he was trying to kill them. He was stuffing rags down in the exhaust vent of the furnace. He was like rocking the trailer back and forth. He's like beating it, scratching it, howling, screaming. And
you can't just get to the horror story, Ben. What led up to this? They just brought the guy in. Hey,
because the medicine man heard my dad was there and he wanted to kill him. He was a man of God. He was going to kill him.
And that's the only reason.
That's the only reason.
There's a man of God here on the reservation.
Yes.
Okay.
And so,
and this guy's outside of. So his dad is inside the trailer. This dude is outside the trailer.
Yes, and they had barbed wire all around the trailer and everything. And so my dad's like, what's going on? And the lady, she's like, oh, that's the medicine man. He turned into a wolf. I mean, this is just like everyday stuff. And he's trying to kill you.
Yeah.
He said when he found out you were coming, he wanted to kill you. My dad's like, oh, okay. She said, don't worry. He'll be here tomorrow morning and I'll patch him up. Whoa. And so it's like all night long he's doing this. Goes away, and the next morning the guy comes back, he's shredded, like just cut all over his body. She starts patching him up like nothing ever happened.
And your dad was there watching him get patched up?
Yes. And my mom and dad were adopted by the chief. He Grandpa Weasel, that's how we knew him. He was the head of the peyote religion. Oh. I mean, he wrote the book on it and everything. He was the grandson of Sacagawea. This is like good Indian like lore stuff. And he got the power. Grandpa Weasel got the power to heal in the 30s at a Sundance powwow.
Now he got this
From
through God or
no, through his gods. His gods. He could heal people, he could curse people. Supposedly he blinded his sister or sister-in-law. He cursed her with blindness. And so his Grandpa Weasel's son was sick in the hospital. And he came over and he told my dad, he said, I need your help. He goes, my spirits are too weak to heal my son. Heal my son. He's like, whatever. So he goes to the hospital with him, and he was told the family to get out, and he goes, he's going to pray with him. And my dad's like, I'll pray. And my dad's like, he's going to die. I mean, that's how sick he was. So my dad prays that he would be healed. And then he goes, that's good. Let's go home. So he takes my dad home. Like the next day, he was released from the hospital. And my dad never understood what he meant by his spirits were too weak until just like recently. He was talking to me about it. And he said, it's because his gods weren't as strong as my God. And he said he showed him the box of his gods. It was a feather, some peyote, and something else. He said, these are my gods. But your God is much more powerful than my God. And so that became a very fascinating thing for our family. It was like he gave the bands to my dad that he wore when he got a quote unquote gift of healing. But they weren't from God. They were from his gods. And so this whole spiritual warfare really is,
it's real.
It's real. And my family has seen it firsthand. I mean, we're going to get my dad on the show and have him talk.
Yeah.
They were out there, I think, 2 years. And then they came back home. Because of, I think, Wounded Knee 2 that happened. And then, I don't know if you've ever heard of Wounded Knee 2.
I've heard of Wounded Knee. That's Sitting Bull, right?
No, that's where the government went in, like with Gatling guns, and just wiped out the whole village. Wounded Knee 2, I think, happened in Michigan. Pretty much the same thing back in the 70s. I mean, pretty much the government did the same thing. And so then they were just trying to kill every white man that they saw. And my dad and mom moved back home. But the fact that I have a Skinwalker story is amazing. Like I
terrifying,
know, but amazing. And it just shows that God is real, and there's a spiritual warfare going on that most Christians don't understand what's going on.
And you know what's really harmful or really bad, and puts us in a kind of a not as strong as they are, is that if you were to talk to another Christian and you would tell them about things you see in the spiritual, you're crazy.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? You need to go get some mental help.
Those things can't happen.
You need to get on pill. Yeah, you're crazy. But if you talk to people that are Satanists or stuff like that, it's like whatever to them. Because they see things in the spiritual. They astral project. They do all these stuff, and they know they're gonna stay quiet about it. They're not gonna confirm what you're telling to somebody else. But so, and a lot of people in the church, they don't understand it, and they knock each other down because of it.
Yeah, I've seen a ghost before, so
I've seen ghosts. I've seen things into the spiritual realm. Like, okay, I don't want to be obscene or anything like that, but I was like, there was one time, and it's happened more than once, but I seen one dude, and I'm not sure if I was talking to him or something, but he ended up going a distance, and I see him looking at a girl, and while something just happened, and I could see into the spiritual realm, and there was 2 demons that came and wrapped around him and started doing things to him to entice him, if you know what I mean, while he's looking at this girl. And I think this girl was like young, so that is crazy. That is crazy that I seen something like that. Like, have you guys ever heard of Trey Smith?
I have not.
You might want to check him out. Well, he did a video about this girl. She was out there in Russia. I guess this guy was walking his dog, and he was recording it. His dog sees something, gets really scared, but he turns off to a corner and he sees a little floating girl. The little girl is flying, right? And her mother or her sister reaches down and tries to pull her down. Now he slows down the video and he starts, tracing things, and you see all kinds of demonic stuff in the background. Like the leaves in the background had turned into a big cat and scared his dog away. Something looked like it was an alien walking, and it had like 6 fingers. So yeah, exactly. And that's what made me start seeing things in the spiritual. And I've seen things like it was a bad aura going on, and I could see like Hindu gods walking around. It might sound crazy to you, but I've seen it.
There's another guy. I forget his last name. His name's Micah. His first name's Micah, but he supposedly has the ability to see into the spiritual realm too, and he sees all the time angels, demons, and has even conversed with some of the angels. And it's one of those where it's so outlandish when you hear him talk about it. You're like, this dude is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. But then there's elements of his story where it's like it's so out there that it's like I don't know how anybody can make that up.
Yeah.
So you don't really know. I don't, it's why he's one of those at the end of the day, you don't really know what to make of him, but it's like, man, I still believe that this stuff is very possible because we know that God gifts people with abilities to do things. You have spiritual giftings. We all do. And the other thing too, that we've kind of been talking about here is, this stuff is real. And I know one of the things that you had sent over that maybe you wanted to talk about, which this is a perfect segue into it, is black magic or whatever we would think of is
magic
real.
With a K.
Yeah, yes. Right. It's real stuff. Like Aleister Crowley, we mentioned him earlier, and Jack Parsons, and all these guys that are these, Satanists. They're able to tie into things like you said, the spiritual realm. But and it is so sad. Again, like you said, that the Christians these days are so dismissive. Yeah. Of these things, and it's like you don't even know your own Bible because you can clearly go back into the story of the Exodus, and you can see when Moses goes before Pharaoh and
I was just thinking of this.
He throws a staff down on the ground.
Yeah, that's real.
What do? They do
the
two magicians. The 2 magicians throw their staff down, and they didn't have like any problem reproducing the things that Moses was able to do. The problem they had was undoing what Moses was doing. They couldn't stop it. They could duplicate it, but they couldn't make it stop. And that was the real problem.
Yeah. I was thinking, Aleister Crowley and Jack Parsons, that's like Janus and Jambers.
Yeah. Oh, very much so. Yeah. That's a good call.
So,
the thing too is like, I think there's some cultures in this world that they don't even know what they're doing. Like I come like we were talking a little bit about how I'm Mexican, and the Catholic Church is very ingrained into my culture.
My wife's to the point, family's Mexican, so.
Well, it's to the point where there's so much ancient religion mixed in with the Catholic Church, and the reason being is because when the conquistadors came, they converted everybody. Like, you got to be Christian or you're gonna die. Which they had to just convert themselves. Like I was just telling you, they had to convert from Judaism. So I don't know why they were doing it, passing it along. Oh, but anyways, they're telling these people you got to convert or die, or basically. And what these people did is instead of just converting, they're like, no, we're going to continue to worship our gods. Mm-hmm. We're going to do it in a cover, and we're going to do it in a way that they're not going to understand. So that's where Santeria comes from. They take their God, and now their God is going to take the form of one of the saints. So
Yeah.
if you ever see like a lot of the Catholic religion, they have different candles with different saints on them, right?
Mhm.
And that's the God that they're worshiping.
Yep.
Just like there was an Aztec god called Ometeo, and a lot of people it would she would appear as a woman or a man, but apparently people started worshiping Mary,
Yeah.
but they were really worshiping Ometeo, but they did that. Okay, so you got to understand that because of this, there's a lot of black magic in the Catholic religion when it comes to Mexico. As a matter of fact, when I was a kid, I remember my mom, she took me to go get a cleaning, a limpia. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, but they take an egg and they say prayers and they rub this egg
I've seen it.
all the way. Yeah. And then they break the egg and they see what's wrong with you. And they say, they gave him the eye. Apparently that's what was wrong with them. So they gave me the eye. The heck does that mean? They're looking at me.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But you can tell there's something. They get palm fronds and shaking. They blow water on you, and it's some crazy stuff. You can tell it's witchcraft.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And that's when it comes with healing. That's something that I heard. So they come and they say they can heal, right? They're healing from a bad perspective. It's not God's power; it's the devil's power.
Yeah.
Apparently, they don't really have the power to heal. What they do is they know it's a demon affecting and giving that illness. So all they do is they move that from here to there. So let's say you have a shoulder. Yeah, you have a shoulder. A demon is messing with your shoulder. Now you got a shoulder pain. Well, they'll just move it to your knee. So your shoulder's better, but now you got a knee pain.
Demons need to leave my back alone.
Yeah.
My son was working in Mexico City at the first part of this year, and so my wife was like, I'll come and visit you because there's some family that she's never met but friends with on Facebook. And so that she goes down in February, and so she meets them and everything, and they're talking, and they go to the pyramid that's there close to Mexico City, where the where is it? Where I can't remember the
Tenochtitlan.
Where the Virgin appeared to the guy with the flowers and everything. Yes, they went there, and so there was a priest giving blessings, with the doing this and everything. And so
I remember this.
And so they're like, let's try to get a blessing. Let's try to get a blessing. And there's a group of nuns in front of them with umbrellas. And every time he throws the water, the nuns move the umbrella so they don't get the blessing. It keeps missing them.
Maybe God was like, I'm all the blessing you need. Move on.
I know. And so it was just, she said it was a very comical thing because if you're supposed to get the water on you, why do you have an umbrella? And I asked her, I said, did you feel any weirdness? And she was like, no more weird than I feel at a normal Catholic mass. Well, she grew up Catholic, but she's not anymore. And so she was like, no more than I did then. She goes, but I could tell that it's very twisted down there. It's very backwards with things. And that got us to a deeper discussion of religion, of it's just not a surface issue. It's a deeper, why is there such a falseness and turning the gospel upside down? That shows the spiritual warfare that is going on. And you're right. It is like we are being attacked physically, spiritually, and emotionally, but nobody addresses that. Nobody addresses the deeper issues. And I think that's the problem with the American church is we don't address the spiritual aspect. We just approach the physical, and that's it. And we hope, we hope that the doctors can heal you, or we hope that surgery can heal this, or in the medicine, but we never address the spiritual aspect. And I know this might sound bad, I have more respect for the pagan religion side of it on that part where they respect the spirits than the church itself, because we have lost our spirituality altogether.
And we're dead. We're dead.
Well,
we're dead from that perspective.
If you think about it, these people that worship Satan, they worship Satan from like 12 at night to like 5 in the morning. They spend 5 hours a day worshiping the devil. And we think we're going to fight that off 1 hour once a week.
Yeah.
That ain't
No.
gonna happen.
No, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Very much so.
And like I was saying earlier with the Catholic Church, where a lot of it is incorporated and these people don't know what they're doing. Like it's still part of the Catholic religion. Like there's these saints called like San Simon, and there's some really crazy stuff going on. And they're the drug trafficker cults. They worship this saint, right? Or they like to this saint, and they got little effigies, little idols of them that they put in their house, and they will put a shot of tequila and a cigar in their mouth. And when they leave, when they come back in the morning, the cigar is smoked and the tequila's drunk.
They just need to put some sand down on the ground to see when the priest families come up and come in there and smoke. You know what I'm talking about? That's a little Bell and the Dragon action.
Yeah.
I just instantly thought of that scene in Major League. They got Joe Boo. He's in the locker and he's like, nobody.
In his locker.
Nobody steals Joe Boo's rum.
Yeah.
Nobody. Oh my goodness. Well, Sergio, thanks, dude. I appreciate you having us, man.
I appreciate you guys too. Thank you guys again, and for my listeners, thank you for coming for another episode here at Grotto in the Tar Pit. Thank you guys.
All right, man.
Bye.
Take care.
This thing never stops recording.